The scales of justice have never been equal, and we can see that more than ever today. And when especially our community says that we're not in something, we have never been in something. Especially the only thing that has been in something is our physical bodies to make wealth for Americans in the United States. But so far as being a people, you have never been recognized. And now Humpty Dumpty is up to his whole tricks again. Before his fall, they are trying to take votes away from us, land away from us, even our thought power. And we continually succumb to the lies. But this video centers on the problem of racial and partisan gerrymandering, emphasizing the constitutional promise of supposedly one person, one vote. And it exposes how certain practices echo America's earliest constitutional devaluing of black and indigenous lives. Because remember, when they closed the door in Philadelphia to write the Constitution, I didn't see too many black folks in there, and I certainly didn't see an Indian. Although, if they would have threw them all in the same bucket, they would have still been the same people, human beings. If you don't know what gerrymandering is, it is the manipulation of voting district boundaries to give unfair political advantage to a particular party or racial group. Objections to gerrymandering often focus on how it violates two core principles of electoral fairness. Districts should be equal in population and reasonable compact. When officials ignore population changes or draw distorted maps, the weight of each person's vote becomes unequal, diminishing some citizens' political power. Now, who are the citizens? We'll talk about that later. See, this issue reaches constitutional significance through equal protection clause of the 14th Amendment. In Baker and Carr, Supreme Court held that failing to adjust districts for population changes dilutes votes in more populous districts, violating equal protection. Shortly after, a key ruling, Gray versus Sanders, 1963, and also Westbury and Sanders, 1964, Reynolds and Sims, 64, cemented one person, one vote doctrine. Together, these cases require legislative and congressional districts to be based on population so that every citizen vote carries equal weight. But it has never been that way in America. And so now, when especially one group of people say that they are not going to join another group of people, when they both are going to suffer if they stay divided, it seems like a foolish ploy to me. And you give the wealthy and the politicians exactly what they want, a divided and conquered people, black or white. But we've wrestled with these issues almost from the dawn of time, okay? In Shaw versus Reno, 1993, and Miller versus Johnson, 95, it held that the race cannot be the primary factor in drawing district boundaries if doing so diminishes equal protection. But see, black African, indigenous, so to speak, which are the same thing as far as I'm concerned, have never been equal in America. And this is the thing that we must come to terms with. You can talk all you want, because you see the historical aspect of this is that blacks were put as, or known as in the Constitution, a 3/5 compromise. The original sin of unequal personhood. The struggle over voting power mirrors America's earliest constitution hierarchy of human value. In its original text, the U.S. Constitution reduced African enslaved people to a fraction for purposes of political representation. And let's be more specific. Representatives and tax direct, it shall be apportioned among several states, determined by adding to the whole number of free persons 3/5 of all other persons. Who are they talking about? Now, this is the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. This infamous 3/5 clause inflated the political power of slaveholding states by counting enslaved people without granting them rights or votes, treating black bodies as political currency, not citizens. This Constitution also rendered indigenous people politically invisible, excluding Indians not taxed, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, by stating that Indians not taxed would not count for representation. The founders denied native sovereignty while erasing native presence from the political structure altogether. You see, these clauses did not merely reflect racism. They embedded unequal personhood into the architecture of American democracy. While slavery and formal exclusion are abolished, the effect of certain gerrymandering practices functions similarly. Minority populations can be intentionally packed into a few districts, wasting their votes, or they can be cracked across many districts, preventing them from electing their candidates of choice. Both methods inflate some citizens' power while diminishing others. See, the core democratic promise was supposed to be one person, one vote, but that doctrine never did exist in America. We see all Americans were supposed to have equal political weight. But some people built this country up. Some people were here when they got here, and they have never been what they call true Americans. But let me conclude by saying this. You see, the 3/5 compromise, that was nothing for blacks or Indians. It was just simply for supposedly Americans. The struggle for equal political voice has been from the dawn of time. The Constitution originally ranked human worth, excluding indigenous people and fracturing African people. But we know this by hangings, redlining, black codes, 3/5 of a person. The scales have never been equal. The Constitution has never been equal for black folks and indigenous folks, if you want to call it that. They're the same. True democracy demands equal districts, fair representation, and the unshakable belief that no group's political power should be diluted or dismissed, because the health of our republic depends on a simple, sacred promise: one person, one vote, equal always.